On this edition of Fine-Spun Tales, we are looking at The Player of Games, the second book published in the Culture Universe by Ian M. Banks. This is the final part in a series of 3. If you like the book, there is a link in the description to buy a copy. Narration is generated with tools from OpenAI. Section 3. The narrator reflects on human nature, emphasizing that identity is defined by actions rather than thoughts. He questions the significance of free will, suggesting it is merely a manifestation of randomness. They contend that whether a mind operates through biological cells or advanced technology, it ultimately performs the same functions. This perspective aligns with his belief in dynamic misbehaviorism, where one's identity is determined by their actions. Gergely has undergone significant personal transformation, influenced by his experiences in the harsh city. Now he travels through space, his mind consumed with the intricate rules of the game Azad. As he approaches Ekrondal, a planet known for its continuous wave of fire, he anticipates the challenges ahead. This journey represents both a physical and mental journey for Gergely, preparing him for the ultimate test at the Empire's symbolic shrine. Ekrondal's unique ecology features a never-ending blaze that circles the planet, creating a distinctive environment where life has adapted to this constant fire. The fire's intensity varies, culminating in a period known as the incandescence, where it becomes a destructive inferno. The Empire's fortresses, built to withstand this extreme environment, serve as the backdrop for the final games of Azad. The castle Claf, in particular, stands resilient against the fire's onslaught, symbolizing the Empire's strength and tradition. Upon arriving at Claf, Gergely feels the oppressive gravity of Ekrondal and the weight of expectations. He interacts with various Imperial officials and game players, navigating the social and strategic complexities of the environment. A notable encounter involves Star Marshal Yamonal, who is encased in a proto-sentient exoskeleton as punishment for losing a personal bet. This interaction highlights the harshness of the Empire's justice system and the stakes involved in the games. As Gergely begins his matches on Ekrondal, he faces both internal and external challenges. Despite initial setbacks, he adapts to the gravity and the game's demands, demonstrating resilience and strategic acumen. His journey through the boards of the game reflects his personal growth and determination. Ultimately, Gergely's perseverance pays off as he narrowly qualifies for the next round, embodying a sense of destiny and purpose that drives him forward in the face of formidable odds. Gergely watches Emperor Nikosar's match in the prow hall of the fortress, a grand room that will host the final game to decide the emperor. Nikosar plays a cautious but brilliant game, impressing Gergely with his strategic moves. Hammond, an old apex, joins Gergely, congratulating him on his unofficial qualification. They discuss Gergely's upcoming match against Lotennios Crowo, a formidable opponent. Hammond hints at the difficulty ahead, but Gergely remains determined. The next morning, Gergely records fake game board shots and an interview expressing gratitude for participating in the game of Azad. He praises the Emperor and the Azadian people, masking his true feelings. Later, as dusk falls, he reflects on the incandescence, the impending firestorm that will consume the planet. The drone Flare Imsaho arrives, informing Gergely about Crowo's knowledge of the culture and his role in naval intelligence, which frustrates Gergely. In his match against Crowo, Gergely is disappointed by the ease of his victory. Crowo makes numerous errors, and Gergely's play is ruthless and efficient, showcasing a new callousness in his approach. Flare Imsaho observes the change in Gergely, noting his deepening immersion in the game and the society. The drone considers how speaking Echik, a less refined language than Moraine, might be influencing Gergely's behavior and thinking. As the match ends, Gergely feels sympathy for the defeated Crowo, but his focus on the game remains intense. Flare Imsaho reflects on the transformation in Gergely, likening his predatory play to the carnivorous Troshai he had heard howling earlier. The drone is uneasy about the changes it sees in Gergely, who is becoming more attuned to the aggressive, competitive nature of the society around him. The day after Gergely's game with Crowo ends, he receives a long letter from the old drone Chamlis Amalkni. The letter, censored by contact, shows views of Chiark and shares the latest news. Although Gurge finds the letter dull and the people in it irrelevant, an odd section at the end catches his attention. Chambliss reveals a lifeless casing that once held a mind, now just an empty shell. Gurge dismisses it, amused, and prepares for his next match. Gurge's next opponents are Yomono Lu Rasp and Lofrag Traff, two military men. Despite their supposed inferiority to Crowo, Gurge anticipates a tough game as they might gang up on him. However, as the game progresses, Gurge realizes they are more focused on each other than on him, driven by their personal animosities and differing beliefs. This rivalry allows Gurge to win the match easily, though he feels cheated out of a proper challenge. Traff, a young and aggressive officer with a notorious reputation, had once kept his word by shuffling the contents of a great library instead of destroying it, fulfilling his orders without breaking his promise. During the match, Traff and Yomono's intense competition overshadows Gurge's presence, making his victory feel hollow. Gurge finds himself a spectator to their vendetta, winning by default rather than through strategic prowess. After his victory, Hameen advises Gurge to retire and not play Nikosar, the Emperor, suggesting it would be better for all concerned. Gurge, enjoying his success, contemplates the advice but remains noncommittal. He wins the match, securing his place to face Nikosar, but Hameen's warning about obsessions and the dangers of confronting the Emperor lingers in his mind. Gurge and Star Marshal Yomonul sit on a high platform, ready for the hunt in a cinderbud forest. They each hold large projectile rifles as they wait for the Troshai to appear. The smell of roasting meat from the food preparation area wafts through the air, anticipated to excite the animals. As the hunt begins with a blare of trumpets, a Troshai enters the wooden funnel, prompting the hunters to fire. Amidst the chaotic shooting, Gurge manages to miss, finding the experience somewhat distasteful. The hunt grows intense, with multiple Troshai being shot and dragged away. Gurge, feeling disillusioned, almost stops firing altogether. Yomonul, however, is enthusiastic, claiming multiple kills and jokingly taunting Gurge. The scene shifts dramatically when Yomonul, inexplicably agitated, turns on Gurge, who narrowly escapes being shot by him. Chaos ensues as Yomonul descends from the platform, attacking Gurge and others in a seemingly possessed state. During the confusion, a guard's laser rifle ends Yomonul's rampage, revealing the Star Marshal's head had been severely injured, but his exoskeleton continued moving. Gurge is knocked unconscious by a Trosha, and upon awakening, learns from the drone Flare Imsaho that he has cracked ribs and a concussion, but will recover. The drone explains that someone had hacked Yomonul's exoskeleton, causing the attack. Gurge meets with Emperor Nikosar, who apologizes for the incident and assures Gurge that no action will be taken against him. The Emperor reveals that Hamin Lee Shrilist, the rector of Kansev College, was behind the plot against Gurge and has been sentenced to death. Despite the danger, Gurge remains determined to continue with the game of Azad, refusing to postpone the match. Back in his quarters, Gurge reflects on the events, with Flare Imsaho confirming that the Emperor wants Gurge alive for the final game. The drone assures Gurge of his safety and loyalty, allowing Gurge to focus on the impending challenge. As the threat appears to have been neutralized, Gurge prepares himself mentally for the critical game ahead. Gurge and Emperor Nikosar begin the lesser games 3 days after arriving at Castle Claff, where the atmosphere is unusually subdued. Nikosar has already secured his rule by defeating other key opponents, rendering the final match against Gurge seemingly inconsequential. Despite this, Gurge and Nikosar approach the game with intense focus, treating it as a genuine contest while others see it as a formality. As the match progresses, Gurge is impressed by Nikosar's skill, realizing he faces a formidable opponent. Nikosar's play is cautious, yet punctuated by brilliant and unpredictable moves. Despite his best efforts, Gurge struggles to counter these strategies, feeling as though he's missing a crucial aspect of Nikosar's game. His doubts are compounded by his inability to effectively use the advice from his ship, the limiting factor. Gurge eventually discerns Nikosar's strategy. The Emperor is playing as an embodiment of the Azad Empire itself. This realization strikes Gurge profoundly, as he recognizes that his own playing style mirrors the culture's ethos. With this understanding, Gurge begins to adapt. shifting his strategy to reflect a more militant and aggressive stance, embodying the culture in a way that directly challenges Nikosar's imperial approach. The game evolves into a high-stakes battle, with both players deeply immersed in their roles. Gurga finds a renewed sense of purpose, embracing his identity as a representative of the culture. Despite knowing he is likely to lose, he manages to regain some ground, creating a more balanced and intense contest. His strategy of playing as the culture militant disrupts Nikolsar's dominance, leading to a more respectful and evenly matched game. As the final game on the Board of Becoming approaches, Gurge is intensely focused and driven, fully embodying the culture's ideals. The board becomes a battleground that mirrors the philosophies and strengths of both contestants. The match captivates onlookers, who are drawn into the complex and beautiful struggle unfolding before them. The game transforms into a profound expression of both players' identities, culminating in a fierce and poetic competition. Gurge realizes that the game is over as a wave of sadness overwhelms him. He looks around, seeing the Emperor Nikosar engrossed in the game, unaware of its conclusion. Gurge is astounded that no one else sees the game's end, feeling a profound sense of loss for the beautiful game that is now dead. As the officials and spectators remain oblivious, Gurge acknowledges that Nikosar has unknowingly sealed his fate, leading to the downfall of his empire. Reflecting on the nature of empires and barbarians, Gurge understands that Nikosar's empire has become the barbarians, destined to be absorbed and transformed. Despite the emperor's triumphant appearance, Gurge knows Nikosar's defeat is inevitable. After the game ends for the evening, Gurge swims alone in the castle's pool, contemplating the approaching incandescence and the sense of finality surrounding the game and the empire. Later that night, Gurge encounters Nikosar on a high battlement. The emperor reveals that there has been an attempt on his life, and the castle is under martial law. They discuss the game, and Nikosar expresses disdain for Gurge and the culture. The emperor's words are filled with anger and frustration, accusing Gurge of perverting the sacred game and dismissing the culture's values as weak and impotent. Despite the tension, Gurge feels a strange intimacy with Nikosar, recognizing the deep connection forged through their shared experience of the game. Nikosar, resolute in his belief in the struggle for survival, dismisses Gurge and returns to watching the distant fire. Gurge leaves, reflecting on the emperor's defiance and the impending end of Nikosar's empire. The castle, now under strict control, buzzes with the anticipation of the coming dawn and the approaching flames of the incandescence. Gurge, dressed in his Azad robes, is summoned by guards to the prow hall. He changes into simpler attire, accompanied by the machine Flair Imsaho, and heads to the game hall amidst the stormy weather. Upon arrival, the hall is nearly full, with Nikosar already present in a menacing uniform. Gurge speaks briefly with the old apex, Haman, who appears frail and unresponsive. As the game commences, tensions rise. Flair Imsaho warns Gurge about unusual equipment and a wired guards colonel, suggesting something is amiss. The storm outside intensifies, and the guards are armed, creating a palpable sense of danger. Nikosar makes perplexing moves on the game board, and the firestorm outside draws closer, prompting Flair Imsaho to signal their ship for an emergency extraction. The situation escalates rapidly when Nikosar starts placing fire cards on the board, leading to explosions and chaos. The guards begin shooting into the crowd, and the hall descends into pandemonium. Flair Imsaho is engulfed in flames but manages to incapacitate Nikosar before the drone is destroyed. Nikosar, wielding a laser pistol, is ultimately killed by his own weapon's rebound caused by Flair Imsaho's protective field around Gurge. Gurge awakens later on a soot-covered balcony, safe but surrounded by devastation. Flair Imsaho, now repaired, explains the events. Nikosar's final gambit to destroy the empire rather than let the culture take over. The drone reveals the culture's manipulation and the true stakes of the game. Gurge, reflecting on the destruction and loss, is rescued by a ship module and leaves the ruined castle behind. As the module departs, it collects surviving drones and equipment, leaving behind a small group of survivors to reclaim what remains of their land. The castle, once a symbol of power, now lies in ashes, a testament to the futility of Nikosar's final stand. Section 4. The ship, slowly traversing a vast tensor field, passes over a wall of monocrystal before descending through the atmosphere of the plate. As it approaches from 500 kilometers up, the contrast between the illuminated radars of the landscaping machines and the dark, nascent plates is stark. Nearby, an asteroid explosion sends molten rock cascading onto the new surface, a testament to the ongoing geological formation. As the vessel continues its descent, the older plates, Charak at Aphelion, Givant, and Osmolon, are alive with twinkling lights, signifying their advanced stages. The ship submerges into the plate's atmosphere, gliding over the ocean towards land. Below, a sea ship celebrates the ship's passage with horns and fireworks, prompting the vessel to respond with artificial auroras in the clear night sky. Gurge, the man on board, initially resists being stored for the return journey, but eventually succumbs to a dreamless sleep after 10 days. During this period, he becomes increasingly despondent, abstaining from games, conversation, and even basic activities. The ship's journey back is uneventful, intersecting with the GSV. So much for subtlety and navigating through the galaxy's higher reaches, past cosmic formations, and the ship's own domain of unreal space. As the ship nears home, Gurge remains detached, uninterested in games or communication. He requests the ship not to alert his friends, signaling only Chiark Hub for permission to approach. The vessel glides silently over a fjord, reflecting the muted light until it reaches Gurge's home. Gurge disembarks, greeted by the familiar yet sharp air and the silent, snow-covered surroundings. Inside his house, Gurge is surprised by the presence of his friends, Ye Maristanut and Chamlis Amalkni, who have prepared a warm welcome. Ye's exuberance contrasts with Gurge's somber mood, yet their familiar banter and shared memories begin to lift his spirits. As they catch up, Gurge reflects on his experiences, sharing the harrowing details of his journey and the collapse of the Empire of Azad with his friends. Finally, Gurge finds solace in the company of Ye, rekindling a connection that offers a semblance of normalcy. Yet, even amidst the warmth and laughter, he is haunted by his recent past. Stepping outside, he contemplates the stars and his place in the universe, grappling with the profound changes within him. The narrative closes with the revelation of an omnipresent observer, reflecting on the true nature of Gurge's journey and the inscrutable complexities of existence. This concludes The Player of Games, a culture novel by Ian M. Banks. If you like this story, the book provides a deeper take that's well worth reading. Check the description for a link to buy a copy. If you want to help support the channel, consider buying a copy of our app, Count Currency, on iPhone, published by Finespun Software. Thanks for watching, and have a great rest of your day.